Hello again, and welcome to Writing Sentences 1, where our story is called What's That? Or maybe it was said, What's that? Let's write our story and find out. What's that? Is something somebody said. So when we write our title, we will start with speech marks. What? Apostrophe and then an S. What's that? And a question mark before we close the speech marks and underline our heading. So the word what is a question. And you can choose. I'm going to remember it's WH because that is at the beginning of a lot of question words. Or you could say what to remind yourself. The first part of our first sentence is Will was sitting in the warm sun. Let's write Will was. A capital for a name and the beginning of a sentence. Will, we need a double L because it's a one-tap word with a short vowel sound, and that's the choice when we're writing ul. Was, well, we've gone over a few strategies. Finger spelling with saying letter names. Was as simple as a first sound spelling phrase. And wa is written W-A most of the time. And the Z sound is written with an S. Will was sitting. Well, we need the doubling rule, do you think? Sit. And yes, we did. To keep that short vowel in sit as a short vowel. Will was sitting. And I think we've only got room for in the. But did you notice the clue to where Will was sitting? In the warm sun. Or written AR because it follows that W. Warm. My mouth was closed at the end of and then sun. But we haven't finished our sentence. It carries on. When he spotted a wasp in a web. When. We could say when to remind us. When, W-H-E-N, he spotted. And our starter word is spot. Spot, and we double to keep that O in spot, saying O. He spotted a wasp. A wasp. We have wa again, written W-A. In a web. In web. And web, we can hear all of the sounds. W, e, b. There's nothing extra to think about because w is followed by e. Win sipped her drink. And we're going to start a new paragraph because this little bit of our story is about win. Win can be when you're winning, but this is a name and it's short for Winifred. Win sipped is the first bit we're going to write. Win sipped, and our starter word is sip. And yes, we do double again to make sure that short vowel in the starter word sip stays short. Her drink. Her drink. And that k is part of the consonant blend nk. So we know to write the letter K. It was so wet when we left that I didn't think we would be doing this, she said. I think she must be talking to Will. We will just fit it at the end of that line, I think. Speech marks because it's what Win says. It was so wet. We can practice was again. So wet. When. And if you like, I can say it as when for you to think about the spelling. When we exercised, left. We're going to put a comma because it is quite a long sentence. It was so wet when we left. And you can think about it as the place where we stopped to breathe. That I didn't think we would be doing this. Let's write that I. That I didn't. Now we've shortened did not. Didn't, so we write did, then just the N before the apostrophe and the T. I didn't think. And we have nk again, written with an N and a K. Two new words. We exercised. Would. We have the w before oh unhappy little duckling. We would. Be doing this. Be doing this. And then we'll have a comma, and that's the end of what she says, but we do add she said. And we had another exercise word. She exercises. I wonder what it is they're doing. Do you think maybe they're outside and looking round them? Let's wait and see if there are any more clues. Nor me, said Will with a grin. So, more speech marks. We start a new paragraph because this time Will is speaking. Nor, after the speech marks, n and then or, nor me. A comma because we go on to say who says it. Said Will. Will. And now we're adding something about how he says it. With. A grin. And that's the end of that sentence. The next sentence tells us something about where they are. He looked at the pond. He. And then looked, we write the starter word look, look, before we add suffix ed. Looked, and it's one of those words that sounds like it ends in t. But that is one of the sounds for suffix ed. He looked at the pond. At the pond. I think they must be sitting in a park. What's that? Now we're going to keep it in this paragraph because it's still Will speaking. What's that? And we have at the beginning, and the letter A comes after it. W with an H in the middle. What's that? It's a dog swimming, said Win. New person speaking, so down a line for a new paragraph. It's a dog, and there it is. I think maybe Will's not got his glasses on. It's speech marks for Win speaking, and we have it is a dog, and we've shortened it is and just written it's a dog swimming, and we doubled to keep that I in swim nice and safe. Then we have a comma, and we close the speech marks before we write said Win, but I think we will only fit said in there. Said Win. And a full stop. She goes on. More speech marks on the same line. A swift dog. And then sw at the beginning of swift. dog. That's getting. We've shortened that is to that's. That's. Apostrophe S. Getting. We are busy today keeping the short vowels in the starter words as short vowels. So we have a swift dog that's getting, and what was the rest of it? A wash as well as a swim. Wash, it starts with wa, so W-A, a wash, as well as a swim, beginning with sw, one of our new consonant blends. And then we add speech marks at the end of what Win is saying. Let's start a new paragraph to find out more about that dog. The dog got to the bank. That's the first bit. The dog and then he got to the bank by swimming. We've just got to the bank. And bank is another word that ends with k, but we write it as a K. Nk. Got to the bank where every rat eats, where it could jump up. That's why it's there. Could, we have k written with a C, and then, oh, unhappy little duckling. It could jump up. So I think it jumped out of the water and onto the ground round the pond. It twisted and shook as it wagged its tail. I think it's happy to be there. We'll just write it on this line. It twisted. Sounds like suffix ed again. Will we need to double? T-W, twist, and then we just added suffix ed because there was already two consonants after the short vowel in twist. And shook, and then sh at the beginning of shook. Sh is sh, o, it's double o, and the k at the end is a k again. Shook as it wagged its tail. As it, and then I don't think we'll fit wagged in there, so let's go down a line. wagged. Will we need to double? Yes, we did. Its tail. Now we've already written the word its, and it was short for it is a dog. This time we are not putting the apostrophe. Wagged its tail. So you always check whether you need an apostrophe or not by saying wagged it is tail. Nah, I don't need one because that doesn't make sense. It's when we are not writing something that is short for it is, never has an apostrophe. Even though you might be thinking, but its tail belongs to it, do we not use one then? Not in its. It's one of the really unusual rules. Tail, we have t at the beginning, and then the A bit in the middle is written in the same way we write said. T, A, I, and then the L. So it twisted and shook as it wagged its tail. I think it's happy now. Who is it with? Asked Win. And yes, we do go down a line. Speech marks. Who? Now, we didn't introduce this in writing words, but there's a great way of remembering how to spell the word who. You think about the very first Doctor Who was a white-haired, older man. White, that lets me know I write a W. Haired, that's where that comes from. And the O from older. Who is it with? Is it with? And then we have a question mark. And that's the end of what Win says. The question mark lets us know that we aren't going to put said, we are going to put asked Win. I think she's quite concerned about the dog. Then she spotted twins who ran up. Then she spotted. Oh, will it be a doubling rule again? Spotted, yes it was. Twins. Tw again at the beginning. Twins. Who? And we get to write who again, but this time with a lowercase w. Who? White-haired, older. Who were so glad to find him and we'll say the rest of the sentence in a few minutes. Were. Do you remember the phrase from the story? Were Emily's rats eating? Were Emily's rats eating? So glad. So glad. To find him, he must have run away. To find, my teeth were on my lip, find him. And a comma, that the wet dog got a hug. That the, then wet, and we write that. Listening to the sounds in wet. There isn't anything extra to remember. That the wet dog got a hug. And we have finished our story. It had a lovely, happy ending. I remember when my dog ran off because something excited her. We were very pleased when she came trotting back without a care in the world. And she got a hug too. So let's take a look at our story, which has now been typed up. And we have a picture of a wasp trapped in a web. It looks as if it's been battling though. Lots of the web fibres have gone. He's still trapped though. Do you think he gets away? What's that? Will was sitting in the warm sun when he spotted a wasp in a web. Wynne sipped her drink. It was so wet when we left that I didn't think we would be doing this, she said. Nor me, said Will with a grin. He looked at the pond. What's that? It's a dog swimming, said Wynne. A swift dog that's getting a wash as well as a swim. The dog got to the bank where it could jump up. It twisted and shook as it wagged its wet tail. Who is it with? Asked Wynne. Then she spotted twins, who were so glad to find him that the wet dog got a hug. We have quite a few new words in this story, so please don't worry if some of them were tricky. We'll get the hang of them. If you didn't do the writing words 1 activity in this lesson, perhaps you'd like to go back and have a look at some of them. Thank you for joining me.